Looks like we're going to do this in the dark. My light burned out, and I've had it in the background here non-stop for like 6 years, and it just finally burned out. So we're going to do things in the dark. All right, for those of you that know me, you know that I love collecting weird facts and sharing them with you in some sort of pedantic, humorous method. And I figured I'd go through some of my favorites. You know, if you know me, that you're aware that I am afraid of falling downstairs. Not only do I tend to do that frequently, but that is also the #1 cause of accidental death, falling downstairs. So also on an unrelated note, there's about 6 to 8 pounds of bacteria growing inside the human body. Most of it's good for us. Speaking of bacteria, penicillin wasn't discovered until 1928 by a guy named Fleming. We use it now for sinus problems and anything that we need antibiotics for. Speaking of antibiotics, actually, many of them prevent birth control from working properly. Not exactly sure what that says about birth control. Speaking of birth control, by the way, the PG-13 warning goes here. If you're under the age of 13, you may not want to watch this. Humans have the largest penis size of all primates. That's not only on size alone, but also in proportion. So that's an interesting thing about humans. Speaking of penis sizes, one more thing I want to share with you is regarding the hangman's fracture. That's actually a fracture inside your vertebrae between the C, or that's a common fracture from those prisoners that were hung. A good hanging if they got to break their neck. Most people, however, didn't break their neck. They sat there, they strangled or were suffocated. That's how they died in most cases for lynching. However, you know that they were well hung if when it snapped their neck, it shut down their central nervous system, creating the body to think that it was being relaxed. And for men, that creates an erection. And so that's where we get the name well hung from. Well, speaking of being well hung, we have the guy right here who's a little envious of what the killer whale is endowed with. However, the largest penis in the planet award does not go to the killer whale. It goes to the largest animal in the world, with the blue whale has a 6 to 8 foot long penis. And an interesting thing about that right there, that's not even the scary part. The scary part is when it ejaculates, about 400 gallons of sperm are released. However, only a small percentage of that makes it into its partner. Therefore, most of that's going into the ocean. And you wondered why the ocean was so salty. Speaking of the ocean, yeah, there's more. Shark attacks. You know, more people die from falling down the stairs, car accidents, coconuts falling on top of your head, vending machines falling on top of people. You know, I guess sharks aren't as vicious as we think. Speaking of water, we get to stay in the ocean a little bit longer here as we talk about water as being in a solid state. Ice is actually considered a mineral, a rock, while glass in its solid state is considered a liquid because of its viscosity. Go figure. An interesting thing about water, there's more molecules inside a single glass of water than there are glasses of water inside the entire ocean. I'm not exactly sure how they figured that out, but I suppose that the estimates are correct. None of these facts have been verified, but I do know that, speaking of rocks, did you know that diamonds aren't formed from coal? That's actually a huge misconception. Did you know that the average miner is 50 years old and has over 20 years of experience in mining? I guess my jokes about coal miners, well, we'll leave those for a different time. Speaking of miners, ever wonder where the term graveyard shift comes from? People used to drink ale out of pewter mugs that contained lead. The ale would oxidize, therefore causing the person to go into a lead poisoning-induced coma, and in their Zen-like state of near-death unconsciousness, it was so frequent, this phenomenon, that's where we get the word wake from. We laid them on a table waiting for them to wake up, and from that, a lot of Europeans are very scared of being buried alive, and so as a result, back in the day, a lot of coffins had bells and a string, tied bell string mechanism associated, so that if the person woke up while they were buried and started wiggling around, it would ring the bell. The graveyard shift workers would be listening for the dead ringers. By the way, what would happen when they woke up, there's this person that looks just like the person that died several days ago, only now they're reanimated. So what they did is they drive a stake through their heart, or a doornail. Hence we get the word dead as a doornail. The dead ringer still today means that you look like somebody who has died. We can also use it a little more liberally now, since we've come to recognize that it means that you look like somebody. You're a dead ringer for someone. Those are some of my favorite, most interesting facts. I try and spin them off in a way that's entertaining. Hope you enjoyed.